Hello everyone and welcome to Siju's Chronicles. If you are new here, this is Siju. Okay, some people call me Esther, whatever you choose to call me. And I share various information about studying and living abroad, specifically in the US, although sometimes I dabble into other countries, but you know, US as my first love. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. You already know me and I appreciate you for sticking with me. So in today's video, I'm sharing with you a couple of schools that accept unofficial transcripts for admission purposes and also Waive TOEFL and other English proficiency tests for applicants from English-speaking countries. Now, this English-speaking countries varies by institution, okay? Because I feel like sometimes institution like specified countries that are English-speaking to them, but we'll get into that once I share my screen shortly. So basically with these schools, as it pertains to the transcript, you're able to upload your transcript or email it to them depending on their submission requirements. And you should not need a transcript evaluation if you have a recognized degree. Do note that upon admission though, if you choose to enroll, they will definitely ask you to submit a copy of your official transcript, just so they can confirm that it's legit, you know, and that you did not like upload a random result from somewhere, you know. So that's why after admission, if you choose to like enroll, you know, attend the institution, they will definitely ask you to come along with a copy of your official transcript or have it sent directly to their institution. Also, for the English proficiency, some waive it if you are from an English-speaking country. So if your native language is English or your official language is English, and or if your language of instruction was in English. So basically if you were taught in English. Of course, this kind of varies by institution, and I'll clarify that later on in the video when I share my screen. You may have to request a waiver from these institutions, though some of them do automatically waive it, so you have to probably fill a form to request a waiver or send them an email requesting a waiver if you meet their requirements. As always, this list is subject to change at any time, and I am not in any way affiliated with any of these institutions, so please do your due diligence before applying to these institutions. And before we dive right in, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Alright, click that like button on your screen and subscribe to my channel if you're watching without subscribing. First up, we have Illinois State University. And at Illinois State University, they allow you to upload unofficial academic records for admission purposes as seen on the highlighted part of the screen. And in regard to their English proficiency requirement, right here in this waiver eligible Anglophone countries, you can see a list of countries that are eligible for English proficiency waiver. And to determine if you are eligible to receive a waiver as well, you can always refer to this English waiver guidelines for more details. Next, we have Washington State University. And for international undergraduate student transcript requirement, right here it says that WSU International Admissions will review your application for admission using unofficial copies of transcripts from the secondary and post-secondary schools you have attended. We will provide you with an admission decision based on the review of your transcript, and will then require you to provide us with official transcripts prior to your arrival at WSU. And then if you look at the English proficiency right here in this waiver section, if we look at waiver option E, it says right here, if you are a citizen of this highlighted countries, you're eligible for a waiver, although you need to provide proof of citizenship to have the waiver applied. And if you have something like a passport, that should work. And if you look at waiver option F, it says that if you schooled outside the US at a school where the language of instruction was English, you're eligible for a waiver, and you need to provide an official letter from the school stating English was the language of instruction while you attended. And for graduate students at Washington State University, it says that a copy of the unofficial transcript for every college and university that the applicant attended is acceptable for the application review process. And applicants may upload copies of unofficial transcripts and translations via the online application. And if we scroll to this English proficiency requirements section, there are some exceptions to the English proficiency requirements, and if you are from this country, you are exempt from the English proficiency requirements. I don't know why these countries are limited compared to the undergraduate one, but you can always email them to find out if you're eligible for a waiver as well. Next, we have Oklahoma State University, and for international undergraduate applicants at this institution, says right here that the English proficiency requirement may be waived if you have graduated from an accredited high school where English is the primary language of instruction in a country where English is the primary language. And this is determined based on information from your application and transcript. And then if we scroll a bit down to this transcript section, says right here that scanned or photocopies of transcripts from international institutions are accepted for admission purposes only. I can send them copies of your transcripts by email to this email. So they did state right here scanned or photocopies of transcripts, which in turn translates to unofficial transcript, so you can use that for admission purposes. And for graduate applicants, in this transcript section right here, it says that all applicants must upload a copy of their transcript for bachelor's degree conferred or pending, and for any graduate or professional coursework or degrees. And submitting your application without transcript will delay review of your application. And they did state right here again that do not email or send copies of your transcript to the graduate college. You must upload a copy of your transcript to the application portal. And for the English proficiency requirement right here, says that applicants who have or will have completed a baccalaureate or graduate degree from a college or university where English is the primary teaching language and which is located in a country where English is a primary language are not required to submit a TOEFL, IELTS, or Pearson test score. Next up, we have the University of Central Oklahoma. And at the University of Central Oklahoma, for international undergraduate applicants, it says right here that submit proof of completion of a level equivalent to 12 years of education in the US by uploading an original copy of your academic records with an official stamp or seal on the document from your school, or by uploading an attested copy verified by an authorized agency. And if we look at this section as well, it says while digital copies of transcripts will be used to make an admission decision, official transcripts must be received by UCO upon arrival to the US. And if we look at the English proficiency section right here, they have like a list of UCO native English speaking countries. And if you take a look at it, you're able to check if your country is eligible for a potential English proficiency waiver. This is what the document looks like. And for international graduate applicants, for the transcript requirement, it says right here that we will accept a scanned copy of your academic record for admission purposes unless we have reason to believe the documents submitted have been altered in any manner. And for the English proficiency requirement as well, says right here that transcript showing your undergraduate degree was completed from an accredited university or college within the United States or from a UCO approved native English speaking country. And this is the UCO approved native English speaking country list that you can always check out. Next up, we have the University of Arizona. And at the University of Arizona, for international undergraduate students, it says that if you have attended any college or university outside of the United States during or post high school, unofficial transcripts from each institution you have attended are sufficient for initial evaluation. You can upload them via Future Wildcard or email them to this email right here. And for graduate students right here, it says that applicants must upload unofficial PDF versions of all transcripts when submitting their application in their grad app system. And they did say that individual departmental application instructions will indicate if official transcripts are required for initial departmental review purposes. So it might actually vary by program as well. And for their English proficiency waiver, it says that to determine whether you need to submit proof of English proficiency, please review our country requirement database. And when you click on this right here, you're able to tell if you're eligible for a waiver. So for example, we just click on Nigeria and you can determine right here, says English proficiency required, no. Graduate English proficiency required, no. So you can always check for your country to see if English proficiency is required or not. Next up, we have the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and at this institution for international undergraduate applicants English proficiency waiver, let's click on this exempt country list and you can check if your country is exempted from the English language test requirements. So these countries are exempted right here. Or you can check if, depending on your high school curriculum, so if you were enrolled in AP English, A-Level English, or IB English Language and Literature within or outside of the United States, you're exempted from providing an English proficiency test as well. And these are like a bunch of other English proficiency requirements right here. And then there's this frequently asked question, and it says applicants will know if an English proficiency test is required via application tracker. An English proficiency test may be waived if applicants meet the English proficiency requirements in an alternate way, which they specify right here. And for transcript requirements, the University of Minnesota actually uses a self-reported academic record, which you have to fill out yourself. And if you scroll a bit down to this section, it says that prior to enrolling at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, all confirmed students will need to submit official final transcript and test scores, and they will compare that against your self-reported score to ensure that what you submitted is actually accurate. And for graduate students, says right here, when applying for admission, upload unofficial transcripts or academic records or credentials to your application. And for the English proficiency requirement, if you completed secondary or post-secondary education in any country on this list, you are exempted from the English proficiency testing. So any country on this list. And if we take a look at this note right here as well, it says that the ESL Policy Committee is in the process of revising the English proficiency exemption list to include Ghana, Kenya, and Nigeria. So if you're from Ghana, Kenya, or Nigeria, you do not need to provide English test scores as well, in addition to the countries on this list that I showed you earlier. This last set of schools are mainly for graduate students. The requirements for undergraduate is somewhat different, so just giving a heads up for undergraduate students. Next up is the University of Nebraska Lincoln. If we take a look at this highlighted part, unofficial versus official, it says that unofficial transcripts are uploaded as part of the application process, and official transcripts are needed if you are offered admission and you want to enroll. And if we click on this unofficial transcript part, we can see the part 1 says on your application, list schools attended and upload transcripts. Uploaded transcripts are unofficial but sufficient for application review. We do not accept transcripts by email or fax, and this is for graduate students. And for the English proficiency waiver, it says that exemption for the English proficiency requirements are granted for non-native speakers who have received a bachelor's or more advanced degree either from an accredited U.S. institution or from a university outside the U.S. at which English is the official language of instruction. So if English is your native language and if English is the official language of instruction at your institution, you are eligible for an English proficiency waiver at the University of Nebraska Lincoln. Next up, we have Stanford University, and it says right here that Stanford considers unofficial transcripts to be sufficient for the review process. If you are offered admission and accept the offer, you will be required to submit official transcripts. And for the English proficiency waiver, states right here in this waiver section that you may request a waiver in the online application if you will have a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree from a recognized institution in a country other than Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Singapore, and the UK in which English was the language of instruction. And you'll be asked to provide one of the following: a link to your institution's official webpage stating the language of instruction, or you upload an official statement certifying that your program was taught exclusively in English. And your waiver request will be routed to the graduate admissions after you submit your application and pay the application fee. Next, we have Northern Illinois University. And for graduate students at this institution, scroll to this transcript section right here. It says that when you apply, you must upload transcripts and proof of degree attested by an appropriate school official. And if you're admitted, you will need to submit hard copies of all transcripts, mark sheet, and proof of degree. And for their English proficiency requirements, you are eligible for a waiver if you meet this criteria right here: if you graduated or received your degree from one of these countries right here on the screen. So it says like, unless you meet one of the following criteria, of which if you are from one of these countries, you're eligible. Next, we have Cornell University, and for international graduate applicants, says right here, the online application requires you to upload an unofficial copy of each transcript. And to prepare a transcript, you just need to follow the steps right here on this screen. And for the English proficiency waiver, you can actually request an exemption if you speak English as a first language and are a citizen or permanent resident of a country where English is an official language, or if you will have earned the international equivalent of a US bachelor's degree from a college or university in a country where English is an official language and where English is the language of instruction. And also it says you will have studied and or worked full-time for at least 2 consecutive years within the last 10 years in a country where English is an official and widely spoken language. And they also have some special exemptions that you can also check out if you're interested. The last institution on this list for today is the University of Vermont, and we're actually going to scroll to this FAQ section real quick for this English proficiency note. Right here says that, do I qualify for an English proficiency requirements waiver? And they state that the English language proficiency requirements can be waived for applicants who have received or are expected to receive an undergraduate or graduate degree from an institution in the US or a country in which English is the language of instruction and or English is the language of instruction of the institution which conferred the degree. And click on this question as well: how do I request a waiver? And they state that if applicants have earned a degree from a US institution or an institution in Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, United Kingdom, or an English-speaking institution in Canada, Ghana, Kenya, or Nigeria, the English proficiency requirements waiver will be applied by the graduate college. And this waiver will be applied as long as an unofficial or official transcript has been submitted with your application. And for all other applicants, you will need to submit this PDF form right here. And for the transcript requirements, we're actually going to go to this application instructions section, and it states right here that unofficial transcripts uploaded by you are sufficient for the review process for most programs. And they did put in parentheses that public health applicants, please review your requirements, and official transcripts are only required if you are admitted. There you have it, the University of Vermont. And with that, we've come to the end of this video for today. Ensure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're watching without subscribing. Have a great rest of your week whenever you're watching. Bye.